What's the most hurtful thing your mother or father has ever said to you? When I was 16 I attempted suicide. I tried to hang myself and the noose broke. I had rope burns on my neck the next day, and a friend's mother sent me to the emergency room, where I told them what happened. I ended up doing a week of inpatient because that's all my insurance would cover. When my mom picked me up, on the drive home, she said I wish you'd succeeded. When we stopped for gas after she said that, I tried to run in front of a semi-truck and she pulled me out of the road just in time. The way that she remembers it is that I was so depressed for who knows why, and she saved my life by pulling me back. Not that I ran out in the first place because of what she said, not that we were only making the drive home from the hospital in the first place because of a lifetime at this point of horrible constant degradation and trauma inflicted by her. She was the only parent I had growing up because she had my father deported when I was a baby after she found out he was cheating on her. She denies in front of others that she called immigration out of spite, but she's admitted to me and people close to me multiple times that she knew exactly what she was doing and why. Needless to say, I moved out when I was 17, literally the day after my high school graduation, and I am no contact with her now.
I found out my ex-wife didn't abandon our family, she was dead the all time. I, 45M, have a daughter, 22F, and a son, 18M, with Annie, ex-wife who I thought abandoned us 15 years ago. Let's say she was going through a bad phase of her life, she was very depressed and had already abandoned us once for 3 months in the past. She promised me she's never gonna do it again. One day she said she was going to the store and after a couple hours I decided to go see at the store, she wasn't there. I wait 1 day hoping she would coming back but she never did, so I go to the police station to file a missing report, but they said they think she run away because she has done it before and a grown adult can vanish if they want. So they never filed the missing report. I was devastated. How can I announce this to our kids? I was furious at her because she left me with our 2 kids alone. So 15 years has passed since that time and one day I got a call from an investigator who said they need a DNA sample from my son or daughter because of an investigation about an unidentified murder victim. I was very confused but I tell it to my son and he agreed to give them sample. 3 months after that I received a call from the same investigator on the case and the unidentified victim was my ex-wife. For 15 years I thought she had abandoned us. I feel so bad now, my kid are devastated too. I feel like a piece of shit for being hateful toward her when all this time she was dead and had gone through a horror.
What is the most pretentious thing you have ever seen someone do? You know those ATM receipts that everyone throws out? Some machines provide bank balances. An old friend of mine would rummage through the trash bin next to the ATM to find the one showing the highest balances. He would save the ones over $10,000. He would take a few with him every time he went to a club. If a girl asked for his number, and they always did, he would write it on the back of a receipt and hand it to her. Sadly, it worked every time. They would always call. One time, a girl asked for his number and he did his routine. Once they parted ways, she comes back and asks to go home with him over his $12,000 balance. Ugh. I hated that guy.
What was it your little one said that left you speechless? Back in 2002 my 2.5-year-old daughter and I went grocery shopping one nice summer evening. We live in an area of Montana where few black people lived at the time. As we turned into another grocery lane we saw a black man, halfway down, selecting a purchase. Now when I say black I mean really black, not brown at all. Not really noticing his color until my daughter spoke up, I continued shopping, gradually getting closer to him. Suddenly my daughter said, "Daddy, why is that man so dirty?" Being absolutely speechless at the moment I felt an awkward pause beginning. This gracious young man turned to us, smiling in amusement and said, "Hi honey, I'm not dirty at all, I have beautiful ebony skin." He bent down and took the time to show my precious, naive daughter his skin. He took the time to let her feel his skin, look him over closely, feel his thick curly hair and ask a number of innocent questions. I sheepishly thanked him for his great explanations before we parted way. After 5 or so minutes of deep thought my daughter spoke up telling me she really liked that man and his nice skin. Her entire life she has been extremely open-minded about the diversity of people from all parts of the world. I still quietly thank that confident young man for helping my daughter feel comfortable with his entire self. What was it your little one said that left you speechless? Back in 2002 my 2.5-year-old daughter and I went grocery shopping one nice summer evening. We live in an area of Montana where few black people lived at the time. As we turned into another grocery lane we saw a black man, halfway down, selecting a purchase. Now when I say black I mean really black, not brown at all. Not really noticing his color until my daughter spoke up, I continued shopping, gradually getting closer to him. Suddenly my daughter said, "Daddy, why is that man so dirty?" Being absolutely speechless at the moment I felt an awkward pause beginning. This gracious young man turned to us, smiling in amusement and said, "Hi honey, I'm not dirty at all, I have beautiful ebony skin." He bent down and took the time to show my precious, naive daughter his skin. He took the time to let her feel his skin, look him over closely, feel his thick curly hair and ask a number of innocent questions. I sheepishly thanked him for his great explanations before we parted way. After 5 or so minutes of deep thought my daughter spoke up telling me she really liked that man and his nice skin. Her entire life she has been extremely open-minded about the diversity of people from all parts of the world. I still quietly thank that confident young man for helping my daughter feel comfortable with his entire self. As a doctor, have you ever had to treat an old bully? Did you treat them well? Not a doctor, but a nurse here. I once had to treat the woman who beat the living crap out of me in 5th grade. She was 2 years older than me. She and her friend wrecked my bike, then wailed on me before throwing me in a rose hedge. I was a hot mess. Why? Because I had to start wearing a bra in 5th grade and they were in 7th and still didn't need one. Many years later, I got her on my unit following surgery. I asked her if she remembered me. Her eyes got as big as dinner plates as recognition slowly seeped in. I just smiled wickedly and said, "Just let me know when you need something for pain," winked, then left the room. She was greatly relieved a few hours later when she rang for a pain pill, and I showed up with it immediately. I would never, well, I thought about it. We had the opportunity to mend fences during her stay, and are still in contact today. Bless her heart, she never did get blessed in the bosom department. Kids can be cruel, but luckily they too grow up. What is the best case of, you just picked a fight with the wrong person, that you've witnessed? In 1966, my parents moved us to a new, much larger home. It was a nice quiet neighborhood with one exception, a bully who unfortunately lived right across the street. As is typical of bullies, he terrorized the small and weak. One day, he decided to pick on me. I hit him with a left and right jab. I dusted myself off, and went home. A few minutes later, the bully's mom shows up to complain to my father, who was in the yard gardening. "Your daughter beat up my son," she announced. That's hardly ladylike. Now everyone knew her kid was a bully. My father, suppressing a laugh, goes up to the house and demands that I come outside. He asks, "Did you beat up Billy?" "Yup," I replied. "Good," my dad replied, and smiled at me. The bully's mom starts to sputter with rage. At this point my father stood up, and says calmly, "A gentleman does not put his hands on a lady. In particular, if anyone is stupid enough to tangle with my daughter, they get what they deserve," and he calmly went back to gardening. The bully's mom stomped home. I was never challenged again. By anyone. Bully had to go to school the next day with a black eye. Moral. Never mess with a 8-year-old girl whose 16-year-old brother taught her how to box. Did you ever accidentally overhear a conversation about you from your coworkers? I was working in a record store that had booze to listen to records before you bought them. I was in a booth setting it up for someone to listen when the boss, owner was outside the booth, not knowing I was there. He started to complain that he did not like my hippie looks and did not trust me. The next day, the manager quit. I do not know the reason, and the boss came to me the next day and wanted me to take over as the store manager. I told him I would think about it. After work, I called the ex-manager and asked why he quit. He said he was sick of the two-faced liar that was the boss and he had got a job with a new company called The Warehouse, an up-and-coming big chain record company. He asked me if I wanted to be the assistant manager, which paid a lot more than I was making. The next day, I called the boss, owner, and told him that I did not want the manager job, and, by the way, I quit. He tried to talk me into staying when I said, "Then why did you say," and repeated everything he had said about me. I started at the new record store the next day. When did you realize your parents are terrible people? I would watch her feed my brothers full, nutritious meals with dessert while I was weighed. About 3 days a week I was told I was too fat, and got water or black tea if she was in a good mood. If I wasn't having a too fat day, I would get tiny salads or a vegetable bowl, no dessert. I would just stare at him. When he didn't stop his crazy wife starving his daughter and fitted a fridge lock to satisfy her concern I might steal food. The earliest memory I have of this ritual is around the age of 3. I didn't click they were terrible people until I fainted at school age maybe 5/6 of a year old, when my teacher and our slightly scary school nurse talked to me and I explained why I was hungry. The dragon lady nurse cried and hugged me while the teacher went to get her lunch bag and gave me the lot.
As a police officer, what is the saddest thing you've had to do? I was a brand new rookie officer responding to an accidental drowning. The young mother had a little too much to drink and went swimming late at night, and drowned in her pool. By miracle, her 2-year-old was outside and standing on the ledge of the deep end but never went in to help mommy. Dad woke up the next morning and pulled crying kid from the pool, and tried to rescue his dead wife. I arrived after the fire department had worked on her for about 20 minutes. I conducted the death investigation for 4 hours, and got off work around noon. I then went to a pool party I had been looking forward to for months. Needless to say, I did not enjoy that party. In fact, I don't much enjoy being around swimming pools with my little kid anymore. That day, I was just trying to not be a downer for everyone else at the party. The hardest part of the job is leaving it at work.